A seemingly ordinary building in New York City's financial district was home to an illicit operation, hiding in plain sight. Unlike the guarded, secretive brothels of the past, this one, Temptations NYC, was surprisingly easy to access. No security, no hidden entrances, just a straightforward walk into a high-end property, up an elevator, and right to its door. Locals and nearby businesses seemed unfazed, but a string of complaints tipped off the NYPD, triggering an investigation. New York Post reporter Kevin Sheehan was sent to the scene to learn more.
Number one, there was no security. It wasn't hard to find it. It wasn't hard to gain entrance. In fact, once I found it, I was able to actually get a person to come out. Unfortunately, it wasn't any of the people from Temptations New York City. It was the building super cleaner. And he was like, no, nobody's in there. And after talking to him for a few seconds, I was like, do you mind if I go in and take a look around? He was like, yeah, sure, I guess. And he goes, wait a minute. Are you with the police, right? Who are you with? Who are you with? I was like, no, I'm a reporter with the New York Post. And he was like, oh, no, I can't let you in there. No. And my photographer was super pissed off about because he wanted to go in there and take pictures, but it didn't matter because the stairwell alone was interesting enough. There were pictures of women's legs with their panties, dropped around their knees. There were all these suggestive placards and stuff. And then strangely enough, on the 7th floor door, it said Temptations New York City, no food allowed inside. The other one on the 6th floor, it said Temptations New York City, give in to your temptations or something. What was really strange about this setup, I've done stories on a few brothels before, and what made this one very, very different or strange was, number one, that you could literally walk inside, walk right upstairs, take the elevator right up to the 6th or 7th floor, ring the doorbell. There was 7 cameras pointing at you inside, but you could get right up to the door. There was no big guy at the front door barring you from coming in, which is usually what you see. That number one, that was strange. Number two was that it was in such a nice building on such a nice street in, the financial district of Manhattan. That was kind of strange. And then the really weirdest thing was when I went to the businesses next door, they were all like, yeah, they all knew about it. They were all like, yeah, they weren't confused or shocked or, oh my God, really? None of that. Nobody even came close to saying anything like that. In fact, the woman who was the manager of the Zaza diner next door, she just she looked at me straight face the whole time I was telling her the story. No expression, no nothing. She was like, yeah, okay. And what? What do you need to know? I was like, I just needed to know if you knew that this was going on there. She's like, yeah, this is New York City. So she said, this is New York City. That was, it's okay. This is New York City. Whatever happens here happens. And I thought, okay, well, she's managing a diner. Maybe she's got a thick skin. Maybe she's been, desensitized. So I went next door after that to a hotel, the Courtyard by Marriott, and went to the bellman and just told him the whole story. And he had this aha moment. He was like, oh, that's what they are. And I was like, have you seen people going up there? He's like, oh, all the time. And I was like, okay, well, why'd you have that look on your face? Oh, he's like, oh, because they're dressed really strange. And I was wondering why they were dressed like that. And I was like, well, how are they dressed? He was like, not really clothes. It's more all made out of vinyl. It's stuff you would see people wearing in a strip club. It's kind of stuff like that. I was like, that didn't catch your attention? He was like, well, it's New York City. And I was just like, everybody thinks that anything goes in New York City, I guess. I'm telling them that there's a brothel right next door to your job where you come every day. And they're like, yeah, it's New York City. Apparently, it was not okay with everyone in the neighborhood because there were several complaints and tips phoned into the NYPD, which led to the beginning of this investigation.
Despite mounting legal pressures, the alleged brothel's operator is refusing to back down. The club, which marketed itself with raunchy social media posts and catered to Wall Street clientele, now faces a lawsuit seeking its closure and financial penalties for each day it remained in business. Undercover officers say they were able to buy drinks, lap dances, and even sex at the club. But the venue's operator insists it was nothing more than a misunderstood swingers club, blaming complaints on patrons who assumed admission came with guarantees. With the city pushing for an immediate shutdown, the battle over Temptations NYC is far from over.
For more stories just like these, be sure to subscribe to the New York Post right here on YouTube.